I'm really glad I'm so stubborn. I just could not give up on this mech. Again, because I'm a huge fan of the Marauder chassis. So I went back to it and looked at it again and thought about what I'd said that it doesn't have quite enough punch. The dual ultra autocannon 10s are always a good start, but the LRMs just weren't enough. Sure, you were shooting out 40 points of damage, but it just wasn't doing anything significant most of the time when you were launching the LRMs along with the AC-10s. So I switched over to ATMs instead of the LRMs. And ATMs, let's see, people call them ass-to-mouth missiles so much that I forget what the actual name is. I think it's like Advanced Tactical Missile. They deal more and more damage as you get closer to your target. So, if I'm at or close to maximum range, it'll, just deal 9 damage, 1 per missile. If I'm at about 500 meters down to 246 meters, they'll deal 2 damage per missile, which, is kind of a mid-range punch that's pretty good because that's already on par with normal short-range missile damage. And I'm launching 9 of them and they auto-home on the target. And then if you're between 245 meters and 120 meters, ATMs will deal 3 damage per missile. So suddenly I'm dealing, 27 damage per launcher at that range. So I thought I would, give that a shot. And just like with my Hellfire, I just made one weapon change, and the mech just felt like it really turned around and was suddenly working great. Now, fortunately with this match, we've got some really, really fantastic comms. This Hades MW guy, really knows the map and the flow of the battle. So, he's calling everything out, go to this area, don't go to this area, be patient, let them come to us, hide in the buildings. They're going to come here, so we should go meet them at this location. So I'm really trying my best to, be a part of the team. It's so rare in a pug match like this that you get real teamwork. So it was really awesome to see that.
New target acquired.
So we've got, a couple of lights. They're advanced scouts. And I wouldn't normally care so much about them, but I want to try out my ATMs on them, which I have not used ATMs before. So I'm going to make a lot of mistakes when firing the ATMs, by the way. There's going to be a lot of times where I plant them into the building or the ground or whatever. But I thought, since I have a tag and they've probably got some ECM on their lights, then I should, bring my tag to those lights. But before I was really able to do that, their main force showed up. So here I'm under the 500 meter range, so I'm dealing 2 damage per shot, which I think is great. That's certainly worthwhile. I try not to fire the ATMs over 500 meters. I will occasionally, because it's still just a little bit of damage to tack on to my ATM 10s, or I'm sorry, UAC 10s. And their team has, I think, mostly shown up, but they're being pretty timid here. They get 1 or 2 people poking out, they get shot, and then they go back into cover, and that just kind of repeats over and over.
New target acquired.
And I believe around this time is when I noticed that there are only really a couple of us in this position, in this sort of forward position. So I called out for help. Since we've got teamwork going, I really wanted to try and be a part of that and say, hey, over this side, is where we need more firepower.
Acquired. New target acquired. Target destroyed.
And since I've got very much a mid-range build, this is an excellent fight for me. There's a lot of open terrain between me and them, so if they want to move in, they're going to have to cover that open terrain to close in on me. And that's just going to let me pound them with the ATMs and the UAC 10s while they advance. This build also, if I'm not mistaken, runs cooler than the LRM version.
Acquired.
I think that was like the only time I overheated in this match.
Target spotted.
New target acquired.
And so there I get my first kill of the match.
New target acquired.
And the next one.
New target acquired.
And the next one. I mean, this is a massive, massive turnaround from, you know, the LRM setup. Again, I've just changed from one type of missile to another, but it's made this kind of huge difference.
New target acquired.
And there's my fourth kill. The damage isn't really going to be phenomenal on this match. It's just that it's much more pinpoint. So, you know, the damage really matters. I'm, you know, blowing off components, I'm getting kills, so it just works out so much better than it did with the LRMs. One other thing that I mess up a lot in this particular match is shooting my allies. Again, I'm used to long-range missiles, which have more of an arc to their fire. You know, they tend to go up and over when you shoot those. These have a much more direct arc, and so I really did hit my teammates quite a bit. So you can see 100 team damage. I mean, holy shit. I owe a lot of people a lot of apologies, apparently. So because of that, and just the fact that, you know, I felt like it was very possible that, you know, the really great comms in this match might have been skewing the results, I decided I needed to do at least one more match in this mech with this setup. So we're going to move over to that, and we'll see if lightning can strike twice. Now we'll see if what happened last match was just luck. There was actually one match between the last one you saw and this one, but I didn't record, or I didn't save that recording because I lost half my weapons as soon as the fighting started. I still managed to do 400 something damage and survive the match, so, you know, that was just with one autocannon and one missile launcher. So if I'd had, you know, my full complement of weapons, I think it could have gone a lot better for me. That's also why I think I was kind of timid in this match. I relied more on the missiles than I did in the first match that you saw. So with the, you know, missiles, I was just trying to expose less so I didn't lose my weapons again. And I apologize for this stuttering right here. I wasn't seeing this while I was playing, so I don't know what caused it in the recording. And I wouldn't use this footage if I had more time to play the game, but with the holidays, I'm barely able to, you know, keep up on uploads right now. And that's really not even going to change until probably next week. So again, apologies if any of the recording is subpar, but, you know, I was just trying to make sure that I had something. And this was still a good match. It's a little bit, you know, a little bit boring because, again, I was timid, you know, since I just had all my weapons chopped off early in the match last time. Now, I've already done some decent damage. You know, I had that rifleman a little while ago that just, for some reason, thought he was going to stare me down, and in the process, he lost his leg and a lot of armor.
Target destroyed. New target acquired.
Here I'm firing my ATMs at a longer range than I would normally, just because I want to tag this guy as much as I can before he gets into cover. And, you know, I assumed that he would maybe drop in, I don't know, drop off the side of the canyon or do something. But I decided to just go ahead and ignore him because I expected the enemy team to kind of do their usual NASCAR around, you know, the left side of the center here.
New target acquired.
It was really weird when I didn't see that. You know, I mean, this map is a very popular map, and so you know, you really do tend to learn how this map plays out pretty quickly. But it wasn't happening. You know, there was nobody cresting over the left side there and, you know, shooting me in the back, which was just really, really bizarre. And what I found out over the course of the match is basically their team was just horribly, horribly divided. You know, they had a few people who, I guess, tried to do the usual NASCAR meta. You know, they went into the canyon down there and they were going to go around. I did see a couple of them, you know, up here in the middle earlier, and what made me turn around was I saw they had an assault or two in these outlying areas.
Target spotted.
New target acquired.
And obviously assaults, you know, are supposed to have a lot of firepower, and that's just not something you can afford to have behind you uncontested, so I had to turn around and do what I could. And I'm really liking this particular weapon combination because the two Ultra 10s give me a nice snapshot weapon. You know, as soon as I see someone poke their head over a ridge, I can start shooting them with the Ultra 10s. Then I can hit them with my tag and try to lock onto them with my ATMs, which will happen pretty quickly. And then I can get you know, my ATMs raining down on them as well. When I see this guy call for assistance, by the way, the first thing I always try to do if I'm in an ECM mech is just stand near them. You know, just give them that umbrella to get them off of enemy sensors. It may or may not solve their problem, but it certainly gives them a better chance of surviving whatever they're having to endure.
Target spotted.
Target destroyed.
Probably my biggest mistake in this particular match was just bouncing from target to target. You know, I go to the side of the, you know, I was looking to one side of the canyon, and then I, you know, start looking at the back of it, and then I go to the front of it again, and now I'm headed to the back again. It was just sort of, I guess, I think our win on this particular match was more down to their disorganization than it was on any, you know, really good teamwork or amazing skill on anyone's part in my team.
I've hit him a bunch of times.
So it wasn't really until this point in the match where I started to get into some more serious fighting, because for the most part they've got, I think, just assaults left plus like one piranha, and so, you know, the assaults are great targets for me.
New target acquired.
Need assistance.
I guess kind of the only downside to this setup, by the way, is if you notice,
Acquired.
more of my missiles are being shot down, and that's because these ATM launchers are always come in smaller volleys. You know, I mean, the largest ATM launcher is an ATM 12 compared to the largest LRM launcher being an LRM 20. So these ATMs are much more susceptible to anti-missile systems.
Acquired.
And so I was seeing a few lasers lash out every time I fired my missiles, so that told me, you know, that there was a decent number of them that were being shot down. Now we get into the face of this LRM Supernova, and at this close range I've got a huge, huge advantage over him. You know, I mean, again, these ATMs are doing, you know, much more damage at close range, whereas his are doing reduced damage at close range.
Damage. Ultra autocannon ammo at 25%. New
And I
target
mentioned the
acquired.
last match, you know, I lost half my weapons right away, and so here I almost repeated that same mistake, but, you know, we're down to the end of it, so it wouldn't have mattered too much. You know, there was just no way these guys were going to survive.
New target acquired.
And there we go, we wiped them up. So with this match, and even the last one that you guys didn't see, I barely did any team damage, so I've gotten much better at aiming my ATMs, aiming as it were. And I still did, you know, 726 damage, 2 kills, 4 kill most damage dealt, only 3 components destroyed, but that's okay. You know, I still did much, much better with this setup than I've done before, so I think at this point It's proven itself. You know, it's a capable mech. It just needed the right setup.